Hello, good evening, and welcome to a new episode of Arguably the Reading Quest. I am Nishant. So, this is the third episode of the Ultra Contemporary Writing series, the Ultra Contemporary Writing, also known as in French literature, in French writing, the Extreme Contemporary Writing, which means in this series, I have always been discussing the writings from the year 2000 and after. So, in this series, I'm going to discuss and talk about Colm Toibin, The Testament of Mary. The Testament of Mary. So this book has been shortlisted for 2013 Man Booker Prize. Colm Toibin, provocative, haunting and indelible portrait of Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus, but Jesus not as the Son of God and Mary not as a saint or a venerated figure, rather a common older woman who is now living a life of solitary confinement. And she is still seeking to understand the events that became the narrative of New Testament and foundations of Christianity. This is a beautifully haunting book, a very short novella that I hope you will enjoy. And The Testament of Mary is written in very simple, flowing prose with metaphorically rich language that has a hypnotic quality, creating perfectly a silent and a dark atmosphere of biblical times. It shows us the social acceptances of visions, miracles, the people who were supposed to be possessed, a dark underbelly of, the times that we commonly know, called the biblical times. So the narrative is so beautiful that, it will transport you to those such times. So it so happens that in the ancient town of Ephesus, Mary lives alone, years after her son's crucifixion. She has no interest in collaborating with the authors of the gospel, her keepers who provide her with food and shelter and visit her regularly. She does not agree that her son is the Son of God, nor that his death was worth it, nor that the group of misfits he gathers around him, men who could not look a woman in the eye, were holy disciples. Mary judges herself ruthlessly. She did not stay at the foot of the cross until her son died. Rather, she fled to save herself, and is equally harsh on her judgment of others. This woman, whom we have come to know from centuries of paintings and scriptures and parables and story, as a docile, loving, pure, pious, a silent, worshipful mother of Christ, becomes a tragic heroine with a relentless eloquence. So Colm Toibin, tour de force of imagination, I'll say, and a language is portrayed so vivid and convincing that our image of Mary as a virgin will be transformed forever. Mary not as a virgin, will be transformed forever. For Mary, her son has been lost to the world, and now she is living in exile and fear. She tries to piece together the memories of the event that led to her son's brutal death. This is a beautiful, haunting novel, trust me. I mean, it will give you a very different flavor of writing and a very different imagery of the biblical time of the time where Jesus lived, Bethlehem and Palestine and all such. To her, he was a vulnerable figure surrounded by men who could not be trusted, living in a time of turmoil and change. Now, to give you a glimpse of, this book, I quote some of the writings of some of the quotes of Colm Toibin verbatim. It would not be long before all the life in me, the little left, would go, as a flame goes out on a mild day, easily needing only the smallest hint of wind, a sudden flicker and then out, gone, as though it has never been alight. Their brother grew in easily towards death in the same way as a source for a river, hidden under the earth, begins flowing and carries water across a plain to the sea. They would have done anything to divert the stream, make it meander on the plain and dry up under the wet of the sun, his last breath, when he was fully part of the waves of the sea, an invisible aspect of their rhyme and rhythm. Moving as though his spirit was still full with the thunderous nobility of its own great death, like a pitcher of sweet water, filled to the brim, heavy with itself. The wildness that was in the very air, this great disturbance in the world, made its way like creeping mist or dampness into the 2 or 3 rooms I inhabit. So you can feel the haunting atmosphere of biblical time through the writing. What was to occur weighed on me. At times, however, I forgot about it. I let my mind linger over anything at all, only to find that what I was moving towards was waiting to spring as a frightened animal will spring. And then it came more slowly, more insidiously. It entered my consciousness. It edged its way into me as something poisonous will crawl around along the ground. Now that the days are shorter and the nights are cold, there is a richness in the light. It is as if in becoming scarce. It lets loose something more intense, something that is filled with a shivering clarity. And then when it begins to fade, it seems to leave raked shadows on everything. And during that hour, the hour of ambiguous light, I feel safe to slip out and breathe the dense air when colors are fading and the sky seems to be pulling them in, calling them home. So one of the, critique and reader observes that this portrait, the Testament of Mary, is both harrowing and ecstatically beautiful. The story of Jesus is told from the completely absorbing perspective of Mary. In the Testament of Mary, Colm Toibin walks a thin line between being heretical and staying true to the narratives of the Gospel. Toibin did not want to conform to the public and to the readers, as he wanted to give his own unique vision of Christianity in rejecting some dogmas and accepting others, ignoring the risk of leaving both devoted Christian and fans of debunking Christianity unsatisfied, saying both the traditional and the controversial. Colm Toibin succeeded in narrating the story of gospel with a female voice this time, a voice of the mother in unspeakable pain, filled with guilt and regret. He enlightened the profound dimensions of conventional story one never thought about. Even though one is raised as Catholic and heard the Gospels numerous times, which makes one think how deeply, one is wrapped in one's men's perspective of the whole story, which oftentimes disregard emotional aspect of horrifying historical event. This is beautiful observation that, sometimes the perspective of this whole gospel, this biblical time is only told and retold and restated from the men's perspective. And the whole history is regarded, from the men's perspective, from a patriarchal point of view, oftentimes disregarding the emotional aspect of the horrifying historical event and values that only abstract reasoning and ideas, always justifying the burden of pain with moral ideals. But Mary gives the exact opposite in her perspective. One dogma Colm Toibin completely rejected is a dogma of Virgin Mary. The way she is being idolized and pursued by Christians, especially Catholics. She is an idealized, ethereal woman without any fault and sins, the symbol of patience, kindness, mercy, perfect, pure statue that became so unrealistic and distant picture. It also becomes hard to imagine her as a mortal going through a visceral pain of losing her beloved son by witnessing his torturous death. Being immaculate, she loses all the right to have doubt, anger, guilt, regret, cowardness, depression, or reject God and renounce faith. The right to go through the ordinary trajectory of mourning. This is a supreme achievement of this book, guys. That this book tells us the story of Jesus from a mother who has lost her son, who is mourning, who is trying to piece together the memories, to look into the past retrospectively and to draw a complete vision, complete picture of Jesus' crucifixion. So a testament retold from an older woman, from a mother's point of view, from a mortal mother who is far from being perfect, who is very much like a human. So in this picture, Mary is not dehumanized. You may ask me why I'm using this word dehumanize, because dehumanization doesn't always mean deteriorating or stripping a woman of her humanity. It also means apotheosizing a woman beyond humanity, glorifying her as goddess. So if you glorify someone as goddess, you are also robbing her of her humanity. And in this context, I would like to emphasize that this is a portrait of a Mary who is not dehumanized. She's a complete human being like us, living in flesh and blood, mourning, far from, being immaculate. And Colm Toibin reimagines the world where Mary is not godlike but a human-like figure. Evoking the profound emotional depths she is unapologetic about. Toibin's Mary also does not shy from the despise she feels towards men. All my life, whenever I have seen more than two men together, I have seen foolishness and I have seen cruelty. But it is foolishness that I have noticed first, says Colm Toibin. But Colm Toibin makes the readers sympathize not with the mother of God, one that carries the suffering perfectly, but with a mortal mother that lost her son and suffered in isolation. Even though the Christian version of Mary is engraved in our cultural mind, every sentence Colm Toibin wrote made sense. So this book, highly, highly recommended. And this is about, a mother who has lost her son in a fanatic crucifixion. And then at last Mary says, I remember everything. Memory fills my body as much as blood and bones. So please read this, guys, and do let me know your opinion. If you've still not liked, shared and subscribed my YouTube channel, Arguably the Reading Quest, please do that. Happy reading. Please spread the word.